weird things Americans do and how we compare to other countries. Tipping in America. In his article, A Very Rough Guide to America, from an Englishman in New York, Paul Owen says, "You need a tip for everything. If you think maybe you should tip, you should tip." This is very true in America. We tip for pretty much any service we are provided, such as food delivery, restaurants, and car washes. Waitresses and such staff in the US only make a couple dollars an hour and they depend on this money to survive. We don't see this as a big deal because it was normalized over 50 years ago and we are accustomed to it. Tipping in the UK. According to an article on tipping in the UK by TripSavvy.com, people usually tip about 10% at a restaurant but do not tip very often at a pub. They only really tip if wanted and if they feel they were helped above and beyond what is expected. Tipping isn't as widely customary as it is in the USA, but they do tip when they feel like it is necessary. In the UK, it is common for a tip to be added directly to your bill like a service charge. Tipping in Ireland. According to the article by Kate Knapp, in Ireland, just like the UK, tips are usually 10% of the bill. But unlike the UK, this tip is only given if the service is extraordinary. Tips aren't expected, and some people may even decline them. You couldn't live off these tips like some do in America, because the tips are usually just a couple dollars or so. Not even taxi drivers or bartenders expect a tip at all. Restaurants may add a service charge, so be careful. Gun laws in America. In another part of his article, Paul Owen says, "No massacre, no matter how awful, will prompt Congress to tighten America's gun laws. There will have to be a wider cultural shift. Lots of people do care about this, but they're not exactly sure what to do." I believe this is true to an extent. There have been so many murders and mass shootings, but yet we have not put forth any new laws about gun control. The only way you can prevent someone from buying a gun legally is if they have a mental illness or are a convicted felon. Who would stop the underground market on guns, though? That's a good question. Guns should only be used for self-defense or hunting. There is no reason to be waving around a gun just to look cool. It is dangerous and uncalled for. Gun laws in the UK. In the UK, it takes hours of paperwork to even apply to obtain a gun. You must have a good reason to own a gun, such as a farmer keeping dangerous animals away from crops or other livestock, or to hunt for food. The applicant must prove they do not use drugs or have an underlying mental condition and prove that they are mentally stable enough to be provided with a gun. Guns are not a real threat in the UK any longer due to these laws in effect. Gun laws in Ireland. According to gunpolicy.org, in Ireland you may possess a gun, but you must have had a permit for it and renew it every 3 years. The amount of handguns and how much ammunition you can have is also regulated by the country. There are a mass amount of illegal guns in the country. The gun violence rate in Ireland is much lower than that of the United States, though. Healthcare in America. Mr. Owen also says later in his article, if you've got good health insurance, the doctor will give you everything you need. This is somewhat true, but this claim is a little far-fetched as well. In America, the people with the best health care do have it easier to find people to accept their insurance. Therefore, it is easier to obtain medical care. People with worse health insurance may not be able to see certain specialists unless it's emergent or they wait a long time. In America, the healthcare system revolves around money. Many doctors give the same care to everyone, no matter what, as well. Healthcare in the UK. According to an article written by Columbia University staff members, the UK has a general healthcare provided by taxation of the people. It is free to all, but they can also purchase private insurance if wanted or needed. The system is renowned around the globe. The way they keep it afloat is income tax at about 18% a year. They still regulate it just like our health providers do. Public health and safety is important. Healthcare in Ireland. Just like in the UK, Ireland has free healthcare funded by income tax. Ireland also has emergency room visits that are $100 a visit unless you see your doctor beforehand, then it is covered. Women get all prenatal care and birth of their baby free of charge. Kids are covered for free until age 6 as well. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. Have a nice summer.